We're here today talking with Melinda Krise about her book, A Name of Their Own, The Story of Place Value. Melinda, thank you so much for taking time to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start by just tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, this is a book that was inspired by my math methods teacher when I was in college. She was presenting to us about place value and how to teach it to children. And she put some houses up on the board and had chairs in them that each number was sitting in. And I thought, that's an interesting idea. It kind of reminded me of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears and whatnot, but it made sense in a different way. And place value is one of those concepts. It's just so hard for children to learn that it was one of those things that I came away with, and it just kind of spun into a story. So this is a story that takes place, it's totally fantasy, in the story of Mathematics City. And the numbers all work in factories, but they live in houses and they have their chairs in the house according to what type of number they are and the size that they are and everything. And they go about their daily life and they go through normal problems like people go through, like gossip and everything, not necessarily adding and subtracting type problems, but like they are real humanistic characters. And so the story actually tells about how they get their names and how they learn who they are based on what their value is.
I love the crossover in curriculum, math, reading, bringing all that together, teaching them how to deal with conflict, how to deal with gossip. You mentioned being inspired back when you were in college by your teacher. What was there a moment that brought that memory back, or how did the process work out of creating this story in this book?
Well, this teacher, even though I was in her class in college, she actually worked for the school district that I started teaching for. And I taught there for 22 years. She just retired a few years back. And so one of the things she would do, because she was the math support specialist for the entire district, and it's a very large district. She would actually come into classrooms and teach lessons and things. She would do staff trainings and different things like that. And so it would come up again. And so I even would have her come in and share it with my kids. But what I found was that when kids were really struggling and they were having trouble learning place value, I would end up telling this story that I created. And I actually ended up, every time I found that place value was coming up in the curriculum for the first time that year, I would tell the story, and the kids were just fascinated by it. I didn't have all the great artwork and illustrations that you'll find in the book. I had, quick sketches that I could do while I was actually telling the story to them. But they were always fascinated by it, and they could always take that information and come back with what house the different characters were in and everything. And it just made it so that when they were learning place value, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was not something that they struggled with and that they couldn't relate to and understand. And so these houses, which were part of the story, they made all the difference. So I actually have a copy of my book right here, which it has all the little houses in it and everything. The mailboxes actually tell you what value it is by the end of the story. But this is an example of what she was teaching us and everything, and it made a huge difference to the kids.
Yeah,
So
it gives a visual and makes it fun. And anytime you can make learning fun, they remember that.
yes.
Yeah. Well, as we're closing up our time together, anything else you want to share with our audience about your book?
So some feedback that I've been given by other people, teachers, as well as some parents, was that they really wanted to expand on the learning that takes place with this story. And they wanted to give their kids some things to do that would be really fun and would match up with the story. So I came out with a workbook that is on Teacher Pay Teacher, and it goes with this. It actually has all different kinds of games and place value activities that the kids can do. But it also has the opportunity for them to create their own characters and design their own numbers that would live in that land as well. So it makes it kind of tie in and be a little more exciting. And it has, for those teachers out there that want to do some things, it has a lot of different ways that they can use everything. So there's additional resources that way as well. So my hope is that people will share it and enjoy it and use it in classrooms as well as with their families, because it's a great way for kids to learn place value. And myself, I have another story that's going to come out, book 2, that is on these same numbers, but it's one that I learned when I was in elementary, and I'm not sure who originally came up with the idea, but it is what I remember about rounding and how rounding works. And so I'm excited about that, because if they remember the story the way I do from when I was in elementary and everything, it will last them their whole life. And so you can really make it so that it's something you treasure and pass on. You know, we do that a lot with stories. We've been doing it for generations, but in this case, it's math at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we'll be on the lookout for that. Again, Melinda's book, A Name of Their Own, The Story of Place Value, is available online through Amazon, through Barnes & Noble. She mentioned the extra resource, the workbook you can get through Teacher Pay Teacher as well. And that's a website that you can grab that from. Thank you again, Melinda, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.